Chapter 8. A Big Happy Family. Maybe it's because it's only ever been Mama and me, but I don't understand what's so wonderful about having a big family. Someone's always fighting, or not talking to someone else, or scrounging around trying to borrow money. Far as I can tell, relations are nothing but trouble. The diaper gang's got pudding today, and Buddy too, because Aunt Minnie has to do Mrs. Winkler's washing. She takes in laundry to make money. Kermit's right. Buddy's more trouble than a baby. He's spent the entire morning complaining. He's hot, he's tired, he's bored, he's thirsty. He needs to use the outhouse. Now he's hungry. I'm so hungry I can't think, Buddy whines. You can't think 'cause you ain't got no brains, Buddy, Beans says. I got a headache 'cause I ain't got no food in my belly, Buddy whines. Come on, let's go to my house, Porkchop says. Mrs. Saldana makes the best bollos on Ash Street. Kermit tells me he pronounces it bollos. You better not let Mammy hear you say that, Porkchop says. She thinks she makes the best bollos in all of Key West. A sign that says Soldanos announces the little lunch counter that's set under the porch in front of a house. There's a man eating a sandwich on a stool. You must be Turtle, a round-cheeked woman bustling behind the counter says with a warm smile. I've heard a lot about you. All bad, Porkchop says. I hope you children are hungry because I need someone to try my latest batch of bollos, Mrs. Soldano says. I'm starving, Buddy cries. Mrs. Soldano places a plate of fried balls of dough in front of us, and the boys grab them as fast as they can. I pick one up and take a bite. It's tasty, all garlicky and spicy. What's in them, I ask. Black-eyed peas, garlic, pepper, and a few other secret things, Mrs. Soldano says. These sure are swell, Mrs. Soldano, Buddy says, licking his fingers, but I think I might need to try some more to see if I like them better than the last bunch you made. You say that every time, Buddy, she laughs. Say, you win last week, Mrs. Soldano? Kermit asks. I'll win this week. I picked good numbers, she said. Win what? I ask. The bolita, Mrs. Saldana says. Cuban lottery, Porkchop tells me. You'll still make us bollos when you're rich, won't you, Mrs. Saldana? Buddy asks. Of course, Buddy, she says. Mrs. Saldana makes us lunch, toasted ham and pickle sandwiches on Cuban bread and something called flan for dessert. The flan is delicious and creamy. When we're done, she hands a bowl of flan to Porkchop. Take this over to Nana Philly, she says. Mammy, he complains, but she just orders, go, and turns to a new customer. We walk down Francis Street, stopping in front of a house that looks abandoned. The windows have shutters that have been nailed down with boards. What are we doing here, I ask. Bringing Nana Philly her lunch, Porkchop says. You think we'd come here for any other reason? I look at the house. Someone lives in there? You mean the shutters, Kermit asks. They've been up for years. She put them up for a hurricane and won't let anyone take them down. There are probably a million scorpions living behind them by now anyway. Beans parks the wagon with the sleeping pudding in the shade of a tree. Then the boys start to walk inside. You just gonna leave him, I ask? What if somebody takes him? Beans scoffs. Who'd want him? I'm not going in there, Buddy announces. You can't make me. Oh, Buddy, Beans says. She can't hurt you now. I don't care, he insists, his chin jutting out. I ain't going in. Suit yourself, Beans replies, and walks in the front door, not bothering to knock. He calls out, Miss B? You here? No one answers back. I follow the boys into a dark parlor. It's surprisingly cool, with little bits of light filtering through the shuttered windows. Most of the parlor is taken up by a hulking piano that looks like it's crumbling in places. Termites, Kermit says, catching my look. That piano is crawling with them. I swear this house is going to just collapse around her one of these days. You can hope, Porkchop says. Why doesn't she just get rid of the piano, I ask. Her daddy was a wrecker and he saved it from a sinking ship. Wrecker? You mean he's the one that broke the piano, I ask. You don't know anything, do you? Porkchop says. That's Nana Philly's daddy. Kermit says, and points to an oil painting of a cranky-looking old man. Most old people are cranky. Not that I blame them. How can you be happy when you know you're gonna be dead soon? Kermit explains, when ships would wreck around Key West, he would salvage the cargo before it sank and then sell it off. Furniture, liquor, silk, jewelry, you name it. He was one of the richest men in Key West. What's Buddy so scared of? I ask as we file down a narrow hallway. Her, Porkchop whispers, looking in the door of a small bedroom. A tiny, frail-looking old lady is sitting on a rocking chair, reading a fashion magazine. She could probably use some fashion advice, considering what she's wearing. A long white cotton nightgown with a dressing gown over it, black stockings, and a red clutch hat that makes her eyes poke out like a mole peeking up at the world. Hi, Nana Philly, Beans says. Miss B gone out? The old lady blinks her blue eyes fast when she sees me. She opens her mouth with obvious effort. Thaddy, she says. It comes out in a frustrated moan. A cheery woman with silver hair and a large straw hat bustles in and says, Why, hello, children. I was out back hanging laundry. I didn't hear you come in. Hi, Miss B, Kermit says. Porkchop holds out the bowl. Mammy's flan. How sweet of her. Miss Philomena does love her flan, she says. Miss B doesn't look much younger than the old woman in the chair. You must be Sadie Bell's girl. You look just like your mother. She turns to Nana Philly. Doesn't she look just like her mother, Miss Philomena? Nanny's Philly mouth curls up on one side, but the other side stays tugged down. It looks like she's smiling and frowning at the same time. Something about her seems familiar. I'm Turtle, I say. Miss B smiles warmly. We're just so pleased to meet you. Maybe you can visit sometime. We gotta go, Miss B, Porkchop says, with a touch of impatience. We got babies. Of course you do, she says. Be sure to thank your mother for the flan, Porkchop. Back outside under the glare of the hot sun, I turn to the boys. I don't understand, I say. What's so scary about that old woman? She can barely talk. Porkchop guffaws. I guess you could say she was a little different before she had her accident, Kermit says. Nana Philly had a fit last summer and fell. Now she can't walk or talk that good, Buddy says. Best thing that ever happened if you ask me, Beans says. You said it, pal, Porkchop says. Miss B lives with Nana Philly now. Takes care of her, Kermit says. Ma helps out too, of course. Brings in lunch most days, so Miss B can get out for a break. Miss B's a saint, Beans says. You'd have to be to live with Nana Philly, Porkchop says. How can you say that about a poor old lady, I ask. Because she's meaner than a scorpion, Buddy says. It's true, Kermit agrees. She said Ma would be better off dead than married to Poppy, Beans says. And she stood up in church and told the minister his sermon was so boring he ought to be crucified, Porkchop adds. God himself could come down from heaven and Nana Philly would tell him he did a lousy job, Kermit says. And they all laugh. She hates kids most of all, Buddy exclaims. She washed my mouth out with soap. Mine too, Kermit adds. And mine, Porkchop adds. Beans nods. That's a lot of soap, I say. Old Nana Philly, Kermit says, almost wistfully. Francis Street sure is a lot quieter these days. How can you talk about someone's grandmother like this, I ask. Someone's grandmother, Bean says. You mean your grandmother, don't you? My grandmother? But Mama told me she was dead. She's not dead. She's just mean, Kermit says. Now I know why those eyes look so familiar. They're the exact same shade of blue as Mama's. But why did Mama lie? And what am I supposed to do with a grandmother? Do I have a grandfather too, I ask? Nah, Grampy's dead, Kermit says. Died right around the time Buddy was born. Wasn't my fault, Buddy exclaims. I was just a baby. I can't believe I have a grandmother, I say. Believe it, Porkchop says. Welcome to the family, Bean says, smirking.